So just for some background, the idea here is that if you have an awesome Toastmasters club, or maybe you have an awesome club that meets online, you want people to be able to find it and search, find their way over to it from social media links, find out all about what it is that makes it awesome, and then eventually transition into becoming productive members. The basic WordPress software is used by everyone from bloggers to major publishers all over the world. It's free open source software. There is also something called WordPress.com, which is a little bit different. It's more of a social media service. You can go in and sign up for a free blog. But what I'm talking about is the customizable software that's used by the New Yorker magazine or Time magazine, that they've customized to look and function exactly the way they want it to for their business purpose. Walt Disney Company is another one that makes use of the same software. And several years ago when I was a VP of education, I said, well, hey, I can do the same thing. I can customize WordPress and take advantages of all the things that it offers and make it more specific to a Toastmasters club. I built on something that I had created previously, originally for a political campaign, called Rsvp Maker, which is a plugin or a modification of WordPress that adds calendar functionality, like the ability to sign up for a particular event. You can also pay via PayPal or Stripe. Rsvp Maker for Toastmasters then is more specific to a Toastmasters club. And then there's a theme, so adding styling. You can change between a number of different standard Toastmasters banners, and then you can play with things like the background color to make it look exactly the way you want it to look. Well, that doesn't look so good. Maybe blue would be better, but let's try a light blue. And we save it, and that becomes the new look of our site. And that change just happened. I don't know whether it's an improvement. The WordPress for Toastmasters website is where I advertise and document the whole package. And then Toastmost is a service where you can sign up for a free site without worrying about too many of the technical details. But the idea is to make it easy for somebody to become a productive member and to sign up here to give important speeches. So that's the background given real quick. Let's see. Now this is what you would see signing into the Online Presenters Toastmasters website as a regular member. So everybody has this view where they can go in and they can modify their profile. We have some information in here, but if your email changed or your phone number changed, you can change those things. You can add something to your description. And you can put in other social media things. You can decide whether this should be visible on the website even to people who are not logged in members. So if you want, you could use this as an additional place to promote your business or to get additional social media links. Everybody also has a view called My Progress, which would show what speeches you've given. And hypothetical member has given a lot of speeches. A lot of things aren't fleshed out here. I'll show you a better example later. We do also allow people to see what people's progress is through the program. Now this tends to work better for a standalone club. Most of us are members of other clubs, so all of our speeches, all of our other accomplishments aren't necessarily reflected here. But I'll show you a few more things about that in a moment. So this is the back end of the website, which can be referred to as the dashboard view. And we can get from the front end of the website to the dashboard through this navigation up at the top. And this is going back out to visit the public site. And we're encouraging people to come in, of course, and to sign up for roles at different meetings. But a lot of what I'm going to want to talk about today is more the officer's perspective on working with one of these sites and doing it effectively, making it effective for your club. And I'm going to do that working in a few different personas. See, over here, I am signed into Online Presenters, but I am actually impersonating John Quick because, you know, who wouldn't want to be John Quick? I'm pretending to be John Quick for the moment so that I'm showing the menu that an officer would see, not something that shows additional options that would only be available to me as the administrator. But if we look at John Quick's My Progress page, because Club Awesome, this is the Club Awesome website. Club Awesome also uses the same software. I have the two synchronizing data now. So we can see that John has finished his Competent Communicator manual. We can see a summary of his speeches, the ones he's given over at Club Awesome and some he's given with Online Presenters. In fact, he's given his speech about the frog farm here at Online Presenters. He also did a version of it for Club Awesome. So those are some of the basics for how you would get information out of the system. And in order for this to work properly, the information has to be recorded in the system properly in the first place. So that's why it's important that when you sign up for a speech that you actually record what manual it's from, what project you're doing. That allows you to track your progress better through the system and also allows your VP of Education to track the information better through the system. So these progress reports, we have them to give summaries of the speeches. There is also a Pathways tab, which of course is new, and the only person who would actually have data in there at this point, nope, wrong George. George Marshall is in the first district to implement Pathways. And what I have so far is just something that would allow you to see what speeches they've given out of a Pathways path, what speech at what level, and there's a space for adding a note. Because not everything in Pathways is a speech. There are other activities such as doing self-assessments. You would be able to make a note here, and it will be recorded with the date, and this is going to say that it's from John Quick, because I am impersonating John Quick at the moment. What's probably more important is to go through how you would customize one of these sites. And because I don't want to make a mess of the Online Presenters site, I'm going to toggle over to one of my other split personalities here. Let's see. Aha. All right, this is a club called Virtual Presenters. They meet in virtual reality, so they're going to take it the next step beyond Online Presenters. And I'm signed in as Virtual Victor. And this is the screen you see when you sign in for the first time. It tries to give you a little bit of an orientation of how the menus are structured and how to get from the back end dashboard to the front end of the website. And it gives you some things to do first, such as editing your member profile, where to change your password, things like that. But when this is first set up, so this would be a new site on the Toastmasters.org service. There's a bunch of boilerplate content loaded in here about the Toastmasters program. And the first thing I would want to do is go in and customize this content. So I would take out a lot of this boilerplate stuff and I would put in things that are specific. I would update this. I would maybe add a photo or two. Let's see. So I can upload a photo, add a caption, and I'm going to insert that into the post. Okay. Update that, and we would be able to see that live on the site. It's also nagging me to set up my meeting schedule and roles. So we'll say we're going to meet every Saturday, and we're going to meet from noon, and our meetings are going to last 2 hours because we're really enthusiastic about this stuff. And this, instead of being like a regular blog post, has a bunch of placeholders in here for things such as the speaker role that's going to appear on our agenda. So it's going to be a 2-hour meeting. We're actually going to have 5 speakers, and we want to have 5 evaluators. So this is a way of customizing the agenda without getting too deep into the underlying code. But it still is, honestly, a little bit complicated. So part of what I'm trying to do is to make sure that you are not thrown by it, that you can figure out how to do it. So now that I've set up my schedule, it tries to project out all those Saturdays. And if I tell it to add those things from the template, we could go out and view any of these dates, and we would have a boilerplate meeting set up with those speaker roles. Now, suppose I want to go back and change that template. Now, an important concept here is there is the template. I'm sorry? This is my 15-minute warning?
3 minutes remaining.
Okay. In the 15-minute part? Or, yeah. So there's the template, and then there are the meetings based on the template. It's sort of the cookie versus the cookie cutter. The cookie cutter gives us the standard shape of our meeting, but each cookie can be decorated a little bit differently. If I want to change things on a regular basis for how my meetings are going to work, I want to go back and change the template and then regenerate or update all those events. So since this is a virtual reality meeting, we are also going to add a special role. So this is going to be a custom role called the VR Manager. This is the guy who helps you futz with your VR headset and equip it. So again, I just made this a custom role. I put in the name of the role, and there's only one VR manager. And if you needed to take up a certain amount of time on the agenda, we could set that. We can also insert a note in here. So there are these 2 custom buttons here, Toastmaster role and agenda note. And I think of the agenda note as being sort of the stage directions. And we can decide whether we want that to appear on just the agenda or on the web sign-up form or on both. This, I think, just needs to appear on the agenda. And say we also wanted to have, so I'm going to get rid of this one and recreate it. Suppose we also want to have a space where people can add the theme, so the meeting theme or the words of the day, and that's going to be something that can be edited on a per meeting basis. So with that, I'm just going to leave this field up here blank. But I'm going to add this field here. Okay. So if all goes well, I should be able to save this. And it's going to ask me, do I want to update all those meetings that I generated a minute ago? Yes, I do. And now if we go here, we'll see we have a VR manager role. If we go into this editing mode, where we're assigning other people roles and customizing our meeting, we'll also see this field for word of the day and theme.
Hey, David, we're over time.
Okay. So John, you're saying I've used up my 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you have questions at this point?
Sure. Can you show us from this page how someone who might have signed up for something could take that back now? Or maybe even sign someone else up?
All right. Well, first of all, if you take the role, when you come back to the sign-up form, you will see your name filled in, and there's a button here that says Remove Me. And what I was showing a moment ago is the routine you might go through if you were the Toastmaster of the day, and maybe people don't take them off the agenda, they send you an email saying, I can't make it. And so you need to substitute one person for another. It's not going to work too well here because Virtual Victor is the only one in this group, but I can show this a little bit more realistically on the online presenters site. So if we want to assign somebody, we can choose anybody from the membership list. There is also a way of assigning a guest to fill the role from here. The setup of the agenda is one of the most important things I wanted to make sure that we covered. And also knowing how to change your own information. So again, you can go in here to change your profile, to update your message, but you know, situations where that ability to edit the agenda as the in the administrator's role or as an editor, where you have one longer speech, like this particular meeting that we're in today. Normally we have at least a couple of formal speeches. Today I changed it to one 30-minute speech so that we would have time for questions. Other questions that people have of things that they want to see more of or that they need to have clarified?
If I may, David, I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
First up, can you edit, I'm assuming so, but you can edit individual pages, like individual agendas week by week. So you don't have to change the entire template every time. You can just take things out, put things in on
correct.
a week by week.
And that's what we did for this week's meeting, yep. Where the title is actually changed. So it's advertised on the site as WordPress for Toastmasters Workshop, whereas normally it would just be Online Presenters Meeting.
Can those changes be made only by, say, the VPE or the site administrator, or can they be made by the Toastmaster as well, or could conceivably they be made by any member? I'm looking at, for one of my clubs, the risks.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, first of all, that is something that people have different philosophies on, and for that reason, there is a security screen under the settings where you can assign some of these things. So some people are, in fact, there are some clubs where you can't just sign yourself up for roles. You have to ask the VP of E's permission, and they will add you to the agenda. I don't think that would work very well for this club, but for others it might. So you can decide things like, can people edit their own statistics? If I go into the My Progress page, I can add a member speech. So maybe I've given a speech at a different club and I just want to have it recorded here because I'm counting it towards my manual. I can do that myself. If there's an error in here, I can go that and fix that myself on my own records. So you can decide whether people can view only their own information or if they can view everybody's information. I mean, I like the idea, let's see, on Club Awesome, it would be like a more realistic example. But I like the idea of having a report that everybody can see what the standings are, sort of a leaderboard of, you know, who's farthest along in getting to competent communicator, or maybe even earning a second competent communicator. And again, these records might not be perfect, particularly for people who belong to multiple clubs and haven't gone to the problem of logging all that information here, but definitely for new people who are coming up through the program, this is a useful, quick at-a-glance dashboard view. Actually, one other thing I would want to cover particularly for the perspective of VP of Education, is there's an aspect where you go back and you reconcile the records for the last meeting. So this would be a good example today where Lois wasn't originally going to be the Toastmaster of the day. She stepped in at the last minute. And actually, we have somebody stepped in to be general evaluator. You can go in and reconcile, you know, how the meeting actually happened with what the plan was. So you make those adjustments, and that's another way. If you want to have accurate records, that's an important step to have as part of the process.
David?
Yes.
In helping Graham understand, I know at Club Outspoken, we have two different templates that we use. One is for contests and one is for a normal meeting. Right. Could you show him where that is so that he might understand that you have multiple templates? Sure.
Yeah, that's, it shows up a couple of different places. If I go into RSVP events and go to event templates, Club Awesome typically does the contests separate, so we have different templates set up for the evaluation contest, the humorous speaking contest. And so these would be, you know, the same basic thing. And by the way, there are two modes in the WordPress editor. One is text, where you see some code underneath, and one is visual, where all the ugly code is hidden. So if you're not a techie, you probably want to be in the visual mode. But so here it's set up as humor speech contestants, and there's 6 speaking slots. If we had more than 6 volunteers, we might advertise more than that. And let's see, this had setup room and pick up donuts, I think, from an earlier version of this. So you know, you can have a few different meeting templates. So this, as a template, is set up. It's not like it occurs every Friday, so we just have it checked off as varies, and we can work that into the schedule as needed. A bunch of this stuff is also listed on this main dashboard. So if you're signed in as an officer, you would see some of these things down the bottom. There's a bunch of things that are only displayed to the officers, such as the different templates that you can work with.
Hey, David.
Yes.
Yeah, this is probably a pretty big question, but how does it compare, or how are you positioning it as compared to the Toastmastersclub.org? I think it's called Free Toast Host. Free Toast Host.
So, you know, part of the backstory is I inherited a Free Toast Host site, and I said, well, what is this thing? And you know, I shouldn't be insulting. Just like my work, it was invented by volunteers originally. It does receive some support from Toastmasters International, and it is the only option that they really recommend or tell clubs about. So I can't seem to get myself on that list. the software that I'm offering only grows by word of mouth. The huge advantage it has is that it is a professional web publishing platform. So the marketing side is very capable. The part that I invented, that is a work in progress. But you know, originally it was just a one-off hack for the Club Awesome website. I didn't think it would be that hard to add some basic meeting sign-up functionality, and we got that working fairly quickly. This whole idea of tracking the statistics on the back end really is something that I added in response to requests from other people who had used things like Rsvp, or one area director was, you know, using her own Excel spreadsheets and Access database, and we heard of a lot of people using Google Docs to manage their agenda. So obviously people were looking for alternatives, and I have tried to provide those. John Quick, am I coming up on the actual 30 minutes limit to wrap it up?
Yeah, 4 minutes left.
4 minutes left.
I have a question.
Yes.
Fabiola. Can you show us some of the useful reports that we can go to, like attendance list or visitors list or things like that?
Sure. Now, the attendance report, I haven't been all that scrupulous about recording who came to the meeting and didn't take a role. So this is mostly the count. Oh, actually, I'm on Club Awesome, but I don't think they are too scrupulous about attendance either. This would actually be people who have shown up and taken a role, because obviously if you took a role, you attended. The current VPV might be tracking the attendance on a weekly basis. So on the same screen where you would update the record of who showed up at the meeting to fill roles, you can plug in things like who participated in table topics and who attended even though they didn't actually fill a role. You can check off some of those at the bottom. I think I'm hearing audio distortion on my own phone line now.
No, that was Fabiola. It's gone now.
Oh, okay. All right, then.
If there are other questions, unless there are other questions, I do have one or two. But no,
I would suggest that I can stay after the formal end of the meeting, but I did say we would make time to have table topics and other things as well. But Mark Worthy, quick question.
Yes, very quickly. I'd like to know what is the interface between Rsvp and the WordPress?
There is none. I mean, it really is an alternative to, so it's a choice.
I understand. So, for instance, hypothetical, I became a member of the club. As far as world headquarters is concerned, I am with Firebirds, I am with Great Communicators, and now I'm with a third club. That would appear on Rsvp. So how would I interact with WordPress?
I don't know if Rsvp gets data from Toastmasters International. I'm not aware of that. As far as I know, they your club website administrator is entering that information. I do have one thing I do have is you can download the spreadsheet of members from Toastmasters.org, and you can import that into one of these sites. And you can also, if you import it a second time a few months later, it will update people's, three-letter credentials, their DTM or ACS or whatever. So so you can pull in those things, and also for the synchronization of data between sites to work, and that's actually a brand new feature. You do have to have the member's Toastmasters ID recorded in their profile. And one of the ways you get that is by importing the spreadsheet from Toastmasters.org. So if you belong to multiple clubs that use this software, then the information is shared. And people who use EasySpeak have told me that that is one of the virtues they see of that platform, is that if you belong to multiple clubs that use EasySpeak, the information about your progress in the program is shared. So, you know, it's possible I could work out a technical interface, but as of now, I don't think that is terribly likely.
Wonderful.
So
Thank you so much, Dave.
Let me turn it back to Lois so that we can move on with our meeting.
David, there is some discussion going on that individuals would like to continue with the question and answer and forego some of the topics, the table topics sections. I cannot see everyone, but I would like to have people just kind of chime in their thoughts if they would like to continue on with the meeting, or let David continue answering questions. There do seem to be quite a few more. Just say your name and what you vote.
Andy Byrne, more questions.
More questions, Paul.
Phyllis, more questions.
Deborah, more questions.
All right. Well, my apologies to the table. Yeah. If that's the verdict, my apologies to the table topics master.
Okay, David, you have the floor, or the space. I'm not sure which it is.
All right. Well, what can I tell you?
David, from me again. You mentioned Toastmasters.org as a domain name or a web host for these websites. I'm just a little concerned, or I guess the question I'm asking is there any, where does that, who owns that, who pays for that? Because nothing's free.
Yeah, I wrote a blog post about trying to answer the question, why am I doing this? And one of my answers is because I'm crazy. So, you know, so far it is a one-man show. It is not a terribly expensive thing for me to operate so far. I have a website where I have a web server that supports a number of different websites, including the Club Awesome site and the Toastmasters site. Toastmasters.org is using what's called WordPress multi-site, where the technical burden of adding another club website it's pretty small. It has been automated. But you know, eventually I will need to come up with some form of funding. The other, we don't have this on the online presenters site, but there is a spot for a sponsor message. And occasionally this will pop up with something about Car Communications, which is my company, because I don't have any other advertisers. But I have built in a space for the idea that a sponsor could purchase something. So maybe somebody wrote you know, these Toastmasters who write books or offer seminars, hopefully would pick up some kind of advertising to support this, or maybe get I would love to get like a major corporate sponsor to just underwrite it, write one check, and that would be it. The biggest thing that I've had to spend money on that I wasn't already spending money on was I bought what's called a wildcard SSL security certificate, and that cost several $100s to allow each of these sites to have an encrypted connection, which is, you know, more secure in terms of protecting your password and some other things, and it's just becoming more of a standard these days. But but eventually it'll be like an I have to buy a bigger boat kind of situation. I'm going to need a bigger server if this, you know, so far it hasn't become as wildly popular as I thought it would. A number of people have signed up for a test account. They played around with it. And one of the things that I've had to acknowledge as a trade-off with the Free Toast Toast is simple in the sense that it does one thing. It's, you know, to me, it's a cookie cutter website. You know, it gives you one way of setting up a Toastmasters Club website, but it's streamlined in that way. And sometimes people sign into WordPress as an administrator, and they see this long menu, and they say, where do I go first? So they're confused, they're overwhelmed, they go away, and they don't come back. So I need to kill off a bunch of sites that have been created but are sitting unused as well.
David, this is Lois. I would like to, as a user of this, tell some people the advantages that I have seen using this particular site. I haven't used Toastmasters, so I can't do a comparison. However, I found that we have emails that can go out to everyone at the club, and the officer has the authority, the president or the administrator has the authority of letting the emails go through. Not anyone can send to all the members. Plus, we have a group of just the officers that you can send an email to just the officers of your group. It is very easy to weekly, every other day, however often you want, email everyone to let them know what the schedule looks like. The sign up is easy. The login is pretty simplistic. It memorizes who you are. And I do a lot of adding members and changing the agendas and stuff like that. And that seems to be working quite well. I'm still working on how to figure out uploading videos because I'm not sure how to do that. So if you do have a video of some kind that can show us how to do that, or maybe have a little more help sections where you can just click a button and it's a question mark or something like that.
Well, actually, normally what I do is I upload videos to YouTube. And let me show a quick example of that. This is a speech given in Club Awesome the other day. So if I wanted to show this as a blog post, and actually Dorette gave me permission to make it public, I just paste in that link. So I just copied the address up top of the YouTube video. I pasted it into the body here. Oops. And then, you know, I would add some text about what this is all about. And actually, I was getting ready. I was going to use this as a demo, but I thought I was running out of time. So if I wanted to also add a still picture, I can do that here.
So this is linking to your personal YouTube account?
Club Awesome has its own, set up its own YouTube account, and Club Online, the Online Presenters Club also has a YouTube channel that Paul established, shared the address with me, or the password with me. So we have used that as well already to promote some of the videos. But you really, I mean, you could do it from the Toastmasters International video that you thought would be useful to your members. Maybe you write a blog post, and you know, maybe as VP of Education, you write a few paragraphs about why you thought it was significant, and then you add that video here. So that's useful. And while I'm at it, let me cover one other thing. So to add the photo, I went to this Add Media button. And you can, let's see, you can also add something. You can also add something such as, you know, a PowerPoint, say the presentation that Dorette gave, you know, hypothetically, this is not the actual data. When I insert that, it will show up in the post as a link because that was a PowerPoint rather than an image. So same thing with a PDF or any other kind of document.
Okay, David, I am going to stop you here because we are at 8:50, and this is really the time that we'd bring in our evaluator and our general evaluator to bring things together. I would recommend that perhaps down the road we have another one of these sessions, as there certainly seems to be a lot of interest. Thank you.
Well, one of my hopes is that you take this information out to your other clubs, and if you do find it to be useful, you know, I put enough effort into it that I want it to be used.